Well, hello everyone. I'm not muted and you are listening to Literacy, where this evening, just checking everything's like that. That. There we go. Just checking my various sound output settings. Actually, no, if I change that, that's probably going to break. This is, well, actually, you know what? I've got some speakers I'm going to turn off just as an extra precaution, so that I don't accidentally start rebroadcasting back into the room. Hi. Hello. Hi. Welcome to what for me is, you know what, actually it's a fairly temperature-wise, and I guess in other senses, chill Saturday evening. I nearly missed the start of stream because I was falling asleep. Yeah, it's been a warm one, as you know, it can be cold, freezing cold for 5.5 straight months, or you know, other preferences may apply too, and then suddenly it gets warm, and all we do as Brits is complain about the warmth. So I for one intend to buck this trend and say, you know what, it's nice. I'm quite happy that it's been warm. And this evening apparently it's settling down to about 18 degrees by the weather report on my phone. But stream buffered for anyone else. Oh no, I did. Yeah, that's some dropped frames. I thought I noticed that. So let's finish talking about the weather and then I'll talk about that in a sec. I mean, all I really have to say about the weather is I do have the windows wide open, so you'll probably hear lots of sound spilling in from outside. Mostly bird song, occasionally some Burke song as some cool guy in his very loud car goes bombing past. But otherwise, just, yeah, it's a reasonably comfortable temperature. It's quite nice. Yeah, so I somehow this week discovered that I've got like 2 installs of OBS on my laptop, where I'd set up a plugin on one for doing a thing. I like doing little like drop shadow outlines on things, and I'd found rather than like having to make them manually in an art program, I thought there's got to be a plugin for that, and so found one that just you know, you can just do like a little, use it to just make a neat little outline on boxes and windows and things like that. It's neat and it's simple, and I've taken to doing that, and so I downloaded something and I installed it and got it working, and then the other day I was at closed OBS, came back to it, opened it, what I thought was the same OBS, and found that it wasn't working. I thought, well, that's strange, and found the plugin, but it wasn't set up and working. And then I realized I've got 2 installs of OBS on different hard drives, and they both have access to the plugin and seemingly everything else on OBS, but on one of them it works, and on the other one it wasn't set up. And this has been a mystery to me, but it's made me wonder if this is why I'm getting dropped frames, whether I need to whether there is some setting that is different between my 2 installs of OBS, and one of them works correctly and doesn't drop frames, and the other one doesn't. But I don't know, it's only happened seemingly once. It's 334 frames dropped, which is quite a lot. That's several seconds. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll sit here and ramble for a bit. How very odd. Yeah, it's a weird mystery. I seem to remember at some point, like, it's not a mystery, it's not a big mystery to me that I've got 2 installs of OBS, because I feel like that is something I tried doing when fixing problems before, like reinstalling and just letting it use default paths rather than putting it where I'd like it to go. just because it simplifies everything down the line when things go, hey, I'd like to install this to OBS, where is it? And you just go, it's where you know it is. Go on, go find it. And reasons such as that. But now it seems to mean I've got 2 versions. And who knows, maybe that's a reason for problems. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna sit and ramble for a bit anyway, because I believe, in keeping with previous streams, I've not got, like, well, an amount to fill out the 2 hours worth of stream time that I try to allocate for this. Which, by usual runtime, would be like about, I don't know, an hour and a half, an hour 40 minutes worth of book. A few different reasons for that, but one of which is that basically we're about 23, 24 pages from the end of the chapter, and that felt like a neat break point. Otherwise, the next chapter is another 20 pages, which then takes us into very long stream territory. And I don't think I have the stamina for that. So, yeah, that is a plan for this evening. It might just be one long half. I don't know if there's really a neat break point. Excuse the sirens. Also those. There will also be sirens. I came across quite a few books you've heard about recently. Not bought any, but you attempted. I see. I would never do a very long stream. I wouldn't. I know you're being sarcastic. A very long gaming stream is a much easier thing to do and get caught doing, because I can shut my mouth for an extended period of time and just play a video game. I can absolutely do that. Keeping myself talking for 2 some plus hours is a much different, harder task. There was no anti-memetics division and so many dunes. Oh yeah, there's a lot of dunes. I'm not familiar with them, but I believe that the people who are say you can probably stop reading after, like, the first one. Maybe the second or third, I'm not sure, but I think excuse me, they get weird and then get weirder. So, yeah. But that's cool. What have I still need to finish I Will Kill Your Imaginary Friend for $200. Kind of partly due to I'm not going to keep bringing it up and going on about it, but partly due to the subject matter of people having to emotionally detach themselves from beloved parts of their life in order to move on and grow up. I was reading it at, let's say, a pretty bad time. So it's been a bit of a struggle to go back to it and finish it, but it was very good and I was enjoying it, and I do actually want to, it's nice to actually, for me, finish a book that I've been reading for myself rather than for stream. But other than that, I've still just got my usual pile that I need to go back to and, finish reading. I will give 0 details, but whilst walking around with Lucy last week, traipsing around hills, looking at bits of rock and stuff, during that whole time, I did hit upon some kind of idea that I've been kicking around in my head for a potentially cool story of some kind, maybe? I'm not sure. And so the problem is, it means that I need to do research, and I need to, like, understand some things, really, to actually find parts of the story that will work. And that's difficult, and I don't really know where to start. But maybe I'll figure that out. Who knows? It's an idea that's sort of sticking with me and might turn into something. Research's got to be part of the fun. Yeah, it is, and it would be, but it's like, it's the sort of thing where if I knew the right people to ask, they could just go like, oh, you just need to know this and understand this, go here and look at that. But I don't. So it's like I need to know what the right questions even are to start asking. Story ideas are so cool, but making them actually happen is hard. Yes, and there was so someone she's an artist that I've been following on Blue Sky for a bit, who does like super incredible like specializes in photorealism, like photorealistic portraits. It's like genuinely astounding how good she is at just like making this look real. Like that's, you know, it's called photorealism. It's like that's just, it looks like a photo, not a painting. That's amazing. And she was talking about because I think she works in like literature and publication stuff, and was talking about like world building as a thing, and saying and sort of comparing it to art and painting, that sort of that making like the interesting point of comparison. Oh, I've just seen dropping more frames. 1 sec. How are you? What's doing this? Why would you put that there? Absurd junk piece of software. Why would you do? Stop that. No, stop trying to snap to things. Got frames network. It's not you, it's something. Just dropping a bunch more frames. I see once. Remind me to get back to that story while I just rant about this. Once I would assume it's a Twitch issue, but that it keeps happening on Saturday nights when I'm streaming on this profile, that just I'm dropping like 1% of frames, which you'll be polite and say, oh, well, that's not too bad, is a considerable amount to actually drop. You know, it's like watching a stream with hiccups. But it's not render or encoding lag, apparently. It's network. So what does that tell me? How does that help me diagnose the problem? Well, anyway, it's stopped again, so I'll keep on talking. Yeah, so she was talking about, like, comparing world building with photorealism, and the point of comparison was eyelashes. That when painting like a portrait of someone, you have to decide how you wish to depict the eyelashes, because if you do them in like incredibly fine realistic detail, then you have to do everything else to the same level, otherwise it starts to look weird and inconsistent, and then you're stylizing rather than making it realistic. And that's sort of how world building works as well. Like if you get caught up in that and too much into the weeds and the details of that, then you're sort of hitting this absurd level of detail that has to go into everything, whereas you can abstract and stylize so that you don't have to do that. Could be my internet. A lot of people in the neighborhood watching Netflix. I don't know. I like the internet here has honestly been surprisingly good and steady. That I can stream a video game on a different profile to a different channel for hours without a single dropped frame. So I thought it was doing it again. And then when I do this, it's just some, I don't know. My feeling is gonna be that there is something in some setting that I've missed, or ticks or whatever, in the profile for this that I've set up for this channel, that is just conflicting, causing a bottleneck or something. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start reading, and we're going to see how we do. Water, lovely. I at some point may have to get up and turn a light on because I thought, you know, nice. I'll go for like a nice cozy atmosphere in my room just to describe. So you're not entirely sure you agree, although you can see the point. I mean, it's possible that I'm like butchering the point she was making. Often thinking about the example of video games, the textures for characters' faces might take up the majority of the entire texture, with the body being considerably less detailed. When your eyes are drawn to detail and contrast, you naturally ignore bits with less details. Well, yeah, true. Yeah, it may not. There may not be a point that like translates perfectly. But also, as I say, as not the person who was making the point, I may be losing something in half remembering it and passing it onward. Yeah, so I've got like most of my lights. Well, I've got like the big main overhead lights turned off in here, and just like a couple of side lights and a spotlight for reading, which should provide enough for me to actually see everything clearly. But I'm aware that at some point I might just hang on. No, I'm really struggling here, and have to get up and turn the overhead lights on. But we'll see. I thought, you know, create a nice chill mood in here for me. So, if we're ready. Oh, I've not linked the text. That's what I haven't done. Real amateur hours in here. What is it? What are we reading? No, let's spell this correctly. This is going great. Where were we? Chapter 8? Chapter 8? Chapter 8? That's a... kind of a no, chapter 7. Damn, it doesn't even work. It's sort of a Simpsons reference. It's number 8 instead of chapter 8. But it's not even that. In the middle of chapter 7. Great. Why can I not hit end? There we go. I'm hitting delete instead. Perfect. You were getting the Beatles? That's probably what it was referencing. It was from the... Yeah, it was essentially, I guess, the Beatles episode of The Simpsons, where... Okay, let's just do this tangent. It's the one where they... is it the bowling team? But they form a barbershop band, the B Sharps, and, like... Barney becomes like the John Lennon of the group, and you know it's the kind of the problematic depiction of Yoko Ono as the one that comes in and destroys the group, which you know we've since I think culturally reassessed and realised John Lennon actually wasn't that great of a guy, but yeah, like Barney starts dating someone and becomes this like super pretentious hipster with his Yoko Ono-esque partner, and they release some new track that's just him belching and her saying number 8. And yeah, what they, you know, there you go. Hello, Budot. You don't think you've seen that episode? Oh, wow. I'm gonna need you to hand in your millennial card. Sorry, that's they take that off you for that. Right. If... Oh, how many frames am I going to be dropping? Why can I put this window so I can just see... Oh, don't... You don't have to... What? Put that. I'm trying to position a window such that it doesn't dock to OBS and screw everything else up. And that means I have to put the window in place. I want it just floating on my desktop. Means I have to put it somewhere and then move the OBS window behind it, and it's great. You need Chumu's after trying to wrangle OBS into behaving. Haha! We're dropping frames. Oh, we've dropped more? Incredible. Yeah, we're just consistently dropping 1.4% of frames. That's great. I'm going to shout loud obscenities. Might need to record this one too. I don't know, like, we've had this problem before, and the VOD has been fine. So I don't know. Also, I'm aware, like, I've been up for half an hour on the stream, and I've done nothing. And if I start recording now, then it's just going to be from here. No, let's just soldier on. Let's just go. Right, if we're ready, I'm probably just going to go straight through to the end of the chapter. Maybe. We'll see. If we're ready. Your link is pinned at the top of chat. It is also in the description below the video on YouTube. Why am I burping now? A bitrate issue with Twitch, OBS? I mean, I'm on like 6,000. There is no world where it shouldn't be able to handle that. Like I'd stream, I think, somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 on Longest John's, which is partnered, not this one, which is just affiliate. But yeah, yeah, we'll see. I don't know if it's genuinely disruptive. Let me know, and I can I mean, the only thing that I can think to do that would fix it whilst here is to literally take the stream down and change settings, and I don't think any of us wants that. So I'm gonna try reading, and we're gonna see how we do, and then we'll continue to see how we do. If we're ready, and I hope we're ready. Your text is pinned at the top of chat. We are going from the middle-ish of chapter 7. The last thing that I read, if it helps you find it, is they were a path of red shinings that led me onward to the northwest of the light of the plane of blue fire. So, you know, Control F, search that, and that's where we're going from. And now I shall resume with The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. Now, I had a believing that I had come out of the country where did lurk those horrid doorways in the night, and I went not with so utter a weight upon my heart, and did feel that naught should come now upon the back of my neck, which had been an odd and troublesome fancy whilst that I did creep through the country of gloom. Yet, as you shall know, I went with no foolish confidence, but with a great caution, and mine hearing keen to hark, and a care to my steps, and did ever watch around me as I journeyed. And because that I went forward in this proper and sedate manner, I had great cause for a thankful heart, as you may perceive. For I had come after a long way to another of those hollows where did burn one of the fire holes, and I made a pause upon the edge of the hollow in which it did lie, and looked downward, keeping guarded within the moss bushes, where they grew anigh to the top thereof. But there was no living thing there to be seen, and I went downward. There. Sorry. Just cat hair in my mouth. Still. Where was I? Didn't make it far. And I went downward, so that I should warm my body at the fire. And lo, as I stood upon this side of the fire hole, and turned myself about, I looked presently more keenly to the other side, for the yellowness of the earth did seem a little strange in one place, but I could see with no plainness, because that there arose a glare from the fire against mine eyes, and I went round that I should look the better, yet with no fear or thought of evil in my heart. And truly, when I was come upon the far side of the fire-hole, lo, there was spread out in the yellow sand of that place a curious thing. And I went more nigh, and stooped to look upon it. And behold, it moved, and the sand all about did move for a great space, so that I gave back very swift, and swung upward with the discus. And, strangely, I heard the sand to stir at my back, and I looked round very quick, and the sand rose upward in parts, and sifted back, and there came to my sight odd things that did move and curl about. And immediately, before I knew which way to go, I knew that the sand did shift under my feet, and did work and heave, so that I was tottered, and was shaken also in the heart, for I knew not what to think in that instant. Then did I perceive that I was all surrounded, and I ran swift upon the heaving sand, unto the edge of the fire-hole, and I turned there, and looked quickly, for I did not know what this new terror should be. And I saw that a yellow thing did hump upward from out of the sand, as it had been a low hillock that did live, and the sand shared downward from it, and it did gather to itself strange and horrid arms from the sand all about it. And it stretched 2 of the arms unto me, but I smote with the discus, and I smote thrice, and afterward they did wriggle upon the sand. But this was not the end, as I did hope. For the yellow thing arose, and ran at me, as it might be that you should see a spider run. And I did leap backward, this way and that, but the monster had a great swiftness, so that I did seem surely lost. Then made I a strong and instant resolve, for I perceived that I had no hope to slay this thing, save that I should come at it in the body. And I put everything to the chance, and made not to escape any more, but ran straight in among the legs. And there were great hairs like to spines upon the legs, and these had pricked me to death, but that the armour saved me. Now I had done this thing with a wondrous quickness, so that I was under the mighty arching of its legs before the yellow thing did wot of my intent. And the body was bristled with the great hairs, and poison did seem to come from them, and to ooze from them strangely in great and shining drops. And the monster heaved itself up to one side, that it might bring certain of the legs inward to grasp me. Yet in that moment did I smite utter fierce with the discus, thrusting. And the discus did spin, and hum, and roar, and sent out a wondrous blaze of flame, as that it had been a devouring death. And it sundered the body of the yellow thing, and did seem as that it screamed to rage amid the entrails thereof. So wondrous was the fury and energy of that trusted weapon. And I was covered with the muck of the thing, and the claws upon the legs seized me, so that the grey armour did bend and crack to the might thereof, and I grew sick unto death with the pain within, but smote with the shining discus, using my left hand weakly, for my right was gripped dreadful fast to my body. And lo, I was sudden free, and a great blow did knock me far across the hollow, so that I was like to have fallen into the fire-hole, but fell instead upon the edge, and came backward unto safety. And I turned me about, and the yellow thing did throw the sand all ways as it did die, but had lost power to come upon me. And for my part, I lay weak upon the earth, and was no more able to fight, nor could I do more than breathe for a great while, but yet came presently to health, and made to examine my hurts. Then I saw that there was no great wound anywhere upon me, but only an utter bruising, and I found upon my right leg that there was a sharp and hairy claw clipped about it, but the armour had saved me from harm of the horrid thing, so that I did but kick it free with my left foot, and thence into the fire-hole. Now, by this time that monstrous creature was dead, But I held off from it, and went upon the other side of the fire, for I was yet surely in horror of it. And I sat for a time, and did think upon all matters that did concern me. And I saw that I should have not comfort of heart, until I was washed clean from the taint of the monster. And I gat me up wearily to go forth into the night again, that I should make a search for a hot spring, of which I had come past many. And I had oft found them to be nigh unto the fire-holes, so that I was trustful that I should see one ere long. And lo, there was a little hollow just beyond, and scarce 100 paces off. And in the hollow there did shine 3 small fire-holes, and there was a steaming puddle, as did seem, beyond the third of the holes. Now, before I had ventured downward into this place, I went all about the topmost edge, and made a search of the moss bushes about, and found naught that should scare me. And afterward I went all across the hollow, but did find no monstrous thing hid anywheres. Yet there was that in the place that discouraged me, and did keep me from stripping mine armour, so that I should bathe in the hot puddle, for I stepped upon a small serpent, and the same did lap about my leg, but could do me no hurt, for the armour, which was a very blessed protection. And I freed myself from it with the handle of the discus. And because that I could not go naked to my cleansing, I tried first the hotness of the water, which was not over great, and afterward did take off the scrip and the pouch and the cloak, and laid them with the discus upon the edge of the warm puddle. Then I stepped into the water, and was immediately gone downward a great way, for truly it was no puddle, as I had supposed, but a deep well, as you might call it, of hot and sulphury water. And this doth show how a man may act foolishly, even when he doth believe that he hath a great caution. And surely it is borne in upon me afresh that none should trust over freely unto unproven matters, the which shall you heartily agree with, but yet do as foolishly, according to your lights and characters. And so shall you laugh not over hardly upon me. Now I had gone over the head, and surely I do not know what deepness was there. Yet, as you shall think, I stayed not to consider upon this matter, but made to climb out, and much shaken with my splutterings and the smartings of mine eyes, for truly the water was strong with sulphur matters. Yet very cleansing was it, as I did presently see, for there was no more any taint or horridness upon mine armour, or the flesh of my face or hands. And I took the discus, and washed it clean also, and then the cloak, and afterward the scrip and the pouch, and the bands of the same. And after I had done this, I was minded to dry myself by the little fire-holes. But when I was come there, lo, maybe a score small serpents were about those places, and I was strongly pleased that I should keep away. Yet that I must warm and dry me in that desolate and bitter nightland, you shall agree. And to this end I put the scrip and the pouch upon me, and afterwards took the discus readily into my hand, and ran quietly unto the hollow where I did fight the yellow thing, and the cloak I bore in my left hand. Now, when I was gat there, I was truly glad to think that there were no serpents in that place, and because that I had slain the monster of the place, how should it be that any harm might come unto me? For truly was it not like that a creature of such might should keep all that hollow unto itself, and slay any that did come therein, and thereby preserve that place from all other horror. Though, surely, until it did die and cease to be, there had been no call for any greater abomination. Now, all this did go through my brain, as I did sit to dry mine armour and my body and my gear upon that side of the fire-hole which was away from the slain monster. And I made presently to think that this would be a sure and proper refuge wherein to sleep. For, truly, it must have gotten a place where none other creature should be like to come to work me harm. And it must be that you do all see with me in this matter, and commend me that I thought with properness. And so did I resolve that I put my disgust within my pocket, as we do say, and stay safe and quiet within that hollow. And this thing I did surely, and did eat and drink. And presently I went over to the dead monster, and made sure, very sure, that it was truly slain, which indeed it was. And after that I had seen to this matter, I returned unto the fire-hole, and made a comfortable place in the sand for my rest, for I was well dry by this. And I wrapped the cloak about me, and took the discos to my breast for a sure companion, as it had truly proved in my need. And I could think almost that it did nestle unto me, as that it knew and loved me. But this thing can be no more than a fancy, and I do but set it down as such, and that it doth show my feeling and mind at the time. Then, ere I did compose myself to slumber, I looked about me, upward to the edges of the hollow, and I perceived that I was lost to the sight of the mighty pyramid, for I was come so far off that it looked not down from so wondrous a height, as you shall perceive, and moreover the hollow was something deep. And afterward, as I lay my head back upon the scrip and the pouch, which were to me my pillow, I went to think a little upon Nanny, as alway I did in my constant journeying. Yet presently I strove sometimes that I put her from my mind, that I should sleep. For a bitter sorrow and anxiousness was oft upon me when I did think upon her, and this you may know, for truly I knew not what terror was come to her afar in the silence of the night. And I did think overmuch. I should feel that I have no calmness needful to sleep. So, and did I think overmuch? I should feel that I could have no calmness needful to sleep, but to need to walk for ever until I died, which could not be long. And so should I make a foolishness of mine anxious journeying, to do her true service and to save her from destruction, if such did truly threaten. And I was soon gone over to sleep, and waked not for 7 hours, being much wearied by the fight and the soreness of my body, the which did put me into a great pain as I did rise upward from my slumber. But this was presently something less, and I eat 2 of the tablets, and drank some of the water, and afterward did put my gear upon me, and went forward into the night, having the discos in my hand. And my heart was glad that I had come safe through the time of my sleep. Now I walked 6 hours, and did stop a little to eat and drink, and went on again. And it was in this second third of the day that I saw afar to my right 2 strange and wondrous men. And they did shine as they had been made of a pale mist, and they came anigh, going very swift, and did seem as that they were maybe 40 feet high, yet having no thickness. And I hid downward into the moss bushes, and they passed me, so quiet as a cloud of this day might go, and did appear to be, if I did guess, but 100 fathoms off. Yet was this no sure thing, for their position had no more surety than shall a rainbow have in this age. And so they were gone onward into the night, and did seem to come out of the north, and they did appear not to wot of me. And whether they were harmful, I know not, for they harmed not me. And I lay there in the moss bushes until they were well gone away, and I had belief that they must be those same mist men that were told of in certain of the olden records, but they were never seen anigh to the pyramid, though I had thought, odd times, to see men as of mist through the great spyglass when I was within the tower of observation. But they were always a mighty way off, and some would say it was but a bright vapour that did move, yet would others be in doubt, and so is it ever in such matters. And here let me take my chance to say how that it is a hard thing to speak of such happenings to men of this age, and to make the truth proper unto them. And because of this, oft am I tempted to say no word upon many things that I did see. Yet must I tell my tale, or suffer from the weight of it within me. And so shall you hark to me, and give me your sympathy and human understanding. And concerning these mist men, I have wondered oft whether they were the visible shape of some of those many forces that were abroad in the night land. For they did truly seem to me as that a thing of strange life were half shown to my human eyes. Yet I do not know, and am but telling of my natural thoughts and ponderings. Now, as I did say, those mist-men were never seen nigh unto the pyramid, and were, as I did hint, always so far off that they were half given over to the fables of the olden days, in the beliefs of the peoples of the mighty redoubt, and set about with a halo of unrealness, for none within the great pyramid had ever beheld them with surety. And because that now I saw them anigh to me, it was borne in afresh upon my spirit how greatly I had wandered away, and how that I stood afar in the lonesomeness of that land of night, as it had been that a man of this age did wander amid the stars, and perceive a great comet to go by him very close, for then he should know in his heart how that he was far off in the void. And this I do say to you, that you may know somewhat of the emotions of my heart in that moment. Yet presently I shook free of my melancholy and lonesomeness, and rose up out of the moss bushes, and went onward. And, as ever, I thought much upon the maid that I did search for, yet strove to think quietly concerning her state, else should I have turned to running, and wrecked my body before that I had gone any great way. And that day I passed 7 large fire-holes, and 2 that were small, and always I came softly unto them, for there were oft living things about the warmth. And at the 6th fire-hole I did see that which I did think to be a great man, that did sit to the fire, with monstrous knees drawn upwards to his chin, and the nose was great and bent downward, and the eyes were large, and did shine with the light from the fire-hole, and moved, watching always this way and that, so that the white parts did show, now this side and now that. But it was not properly a man. And I went away very quiet from that place, and looked oft backward, until that I was sure of safety, for it was a very horrid monster, and had that place to be for a lair, as I did judge from the smell thereof. And when the 18th hour was come, I looked about for a safe place to sleep. And I kept away from the fire-holes, for I did always find the more life there. Yet, when I came to my rest, I was lacking of warmth, by reason of this care, and could scarce sleep at all, because that I was so cold. Yet managed something of slumber after a while, but woke very stiff, and was glad to beat my hands and bestir myself, that I should come to some warmth of life. And after that I had eat and drunk, I put my gear upon me, and took the discos in my hand, and went forward again upon my journey. And here I should tell that I was come soon unto the northwest border of the plain of blue fire, and presently I was but a little way off from it, and did go direct to the north, so that the plain was always upon my right. Now this plain was a strange and fearsome place, as you shall see, for it was as that a blue void did rise upward from the earth in all the country of that plain. For surely the plain did not lumber with flame, but was hid with a strange and inburning light, as of a shining atmosphere of a cold blue colour, and it did throw no sure light upon the night-land, as had seemed proper, but was a very dreadful, cold shining, as of a luminous and blue void. And the moss bushes grew nigh to the edge of the plain, and did show to me black and strange against the horrid gloom of light. And you shall know that I could not see into the plain, For it was as that the cold blue light was a void that swallowed all within it, and gave no power to the eye that aught should be perceived. And it stood between me and the mighty pyramid, and I could no wise see across. And I know not whether I do make all this matter clear unto you, for surely it is no easy task. And presently I had gone very quiet upon my hands and knees through the moss bushes, and I came near upon the edge of the plain, and hid there in a clump of the moss bush, and peered forth and harked. And I heard constant voices that did call to one another across the plain, as it were that strange peoples of spirits did wander within that blue shining, and did make a calling one to the other, and were all hid and held apart. And surely I could see naught, and did judge, as I have writ, that they likewise went blindly. And truly is this a strange matter to set out, and easy to think on with doubt. Yet as I did see, so I have told. For in verity there were surely hidden peoples of spirit scattered and lost afar upon that improper plain. And you shall judge that I kept safe hid, for whether this might have any natural explaining, or whether it was a matter that did go utter beyond knowledge of man, I did not know. For surely in that strange land it did like to be a horrid danger in any case, and whether of some monstrous creatures, or of evil forces of the land, I did wisely to be away. And for 2 days I did make a safe coasting of the plain of blue fire, and did keep well off, maybe 2 great miles, among the moss bushes. And I made a very good speed through the darkness, and at the 18th hour of each journey I made a place for my slumber. And the first I did manage under a thick bush, but the second was high upon the ledge of a rock that grew upward in the night amid the bushes. And save that I was bitter cold, there did no harm come to me. And in all that time of journeying I had no sight of the mighty pyramid, for the blind shining of the plain of blue fire was ever between. Wondering whether I should take a break. Yeah. We've not made it too far, but I'm gonna take a quick break there. Let's take a 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and do a bit more. I need to drink some water because I'm apparently super thirsty this evening. And we are continuing to drop frame. That whole episode with the monster put you so in mind of a scene in one of the Dark Tower books when the main character fights a lobster monster. You're having trouble putting your finger on specific details. It's several years since you read it. The entire vibe feels so similar. You wonder if Stephen King's read this. I mean, it's possible. I don't know how widely read this book is. To the point where I couldn't really, even begin to try and speculate who might have read it and base things on it, or been taken inspiration from it and who hasn't. What it genuinely felt like to me, lobstrosities, yeah. What it felt like to me is like a Dark Souls encounter. Like, the way that it's described is just this monster that moves like a spider that's covered in arms and like scuttles at you, and it's covered in like bristles that ooze poison. It just tries to like grab you and hug you to it so that you get spikes on the poison. It's like, that's a Dark Souls boss. That is just straight up a Dark Souls boss, or like Elden Ring or something. That is a Soulsborne. That is a From Software monster design. And we called them lobstrosities in the book. Great, of course. And what I continue to come back to whilst reading this book is I would love to know if can't remember if the studio has a name, but the people that make Caves of Cud, whether they have ever read this, because this, like, that game gives me heavy like Nightland vibes, and so the other way around as well. I think there's also general vibe contributing. Dark Tower is also a cool guy running around in a weird far future setting. Right, yep, fair. Right, I said I was going to take a break. I'm going to do that. No, I moved the window and now everything's broken. Right, let's take a break. See you back here in 5 minutes. Get up, stretch, move around, cycle your fluids, rotate your limbs, and see you in a bit. Bye for now. haven't actually moved. I thought I'd Google what people have been saying about these specific, cause it's, well, these specific problems. I'll finish my sentence before I start the next one. Because it is an extremely consistent 1.3 to 1. I mean, obviously I'm giving two different numbers, but 1.3 to 1.4% dropped frames. Like, that is... Like that. Okay, fine, drop down to 1.2. Okay, between 1.2 and 1.4, depending. But that says to me that it is like something that is constantly happening at intervals, which implies to me that it is something on my side, software side, rather than Twitch. Like, if it's a network issue with Twitch, I would think it would be a lot less frequent, a lot less steady. So it's got to be something here in one of my settings. I apologise for the disruption it must be causing you in trying to listen along. There's something that is already a little bit tricky to listen along. Don't mind me just settling back into place. Yeah. I will try... The thing is, the only way I can really sort it out is to do like test streams and see whether it works. So, you know, you can only really figure these things out when they're happening live. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why Oxford would be letting off fireworks, like over anywhere else. All I can think is this not today because Monday is the bank holiday, but it's just like the May Day weekend where everyone goes jumps off the bridge. There's for those that don't know, there's like a low bridge. It is, well, not low, but you know, there's a bridge over a river. It's not like massively high up. And I think there's like an annual tradition that everyone goes and like jumps off it into the river, and you know, lightly injures themselves. You still haven't noticed it? Okay, that then strange. I don't know. It's like it's just a little like background bother. It just like sits at the back of my mind, annoying me that it's happening. But if it's not causing too much disruption, fair enough. Beats chasing cheese down a hill. Well, I mean, we have all sorts of bizarre traditions over here, Poodle. Don't you worry. Yeah, the language of this book is it's fascinating. Yeah, like you said, Andy. It's like it's dystopia speak with the King James Bible overlay. Yeah, it's just like liberally using that. I'm actually not looking like, hang on, where did I stop reading? What was the last thing I read? I don't know. I'll just figure it out in a bit. But yeah, like the sentence, after that I had eat and drunk. I put my gear upon me and took the discus in my hand and went forward again upon my journey. It's like, you would just say, after I'd eaten and drunk, is how you would say that now, but it's after that I had. And yeah, it's a very like archaic, I guess, form of writing. I mean, that's the intent, that's the purpose behind it. And there's all sorts of other little ticks and phrasings, and I can never find them when I'm just skimming through pages to try and find a good example. And I don't just want to sit here in silence. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff like that, which to me on the page, I think it's probably easier for me to read and interpret what is being said and try to get the like the emphasis right through a sentence to help it make sense. But I fully appreciate that to you listening, it is a much harder experience. There's also like a lot of capitalized words, be like yellow thing was capitalized, or you know, mighty pyramid gets capitalized. Describing the discourse as a sure companion, the companion is capitalized. A creature of such might would keep all that hollow onto it. So there's a lot of stuff like that which helps guide me, but you can't hear that. You can't hear the capitalizations in some of these words, so it's gonna like slip through a lot more. He's got a few Elizabethan quirks that he just hammers on a lot. You think a lot more so than actual writing from that time period would. Yeah, I think there is like not. You know a lot more about this than me from the way you're talking about it. But yeah, I think there is an element of like taking those quirks and really like cranking it up to make it feel like it's from another time and place. Must be so difficult to read a weird muddled up sentence aloud for me. It was tricky. It's getting easier. Like I'm not an expert at it, but this is where like pre-reading it helps because it sort of just tunes my brain in a bit. And like honestly, I'm kind of enjoying the challenge. It's the kind of thing that I enjoy. It's sort of satisfying to. It's not. It's like halfway to trying to read another language, in that it's my language, but it's deployed in a way that's not immediately comfortable and familiar to me. And there is a sort of a satisfaction in deciphering the intent and kind of feeling out and learning the new ways. Reading on hard mode, yeah. Like there is, yeah. This is honestly the kind of thing that my brain enjoys, and I don't understand why. But yeah, it's. I wouldn't choose to do this. I wouldn't like make a hobby of this, but it is kind of fun. It's kind of settled into the groove after a while. Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like I have been doing that better. Like I feel like I'm reading this much more comfortably now than when I first started. Yeah, like Shakespeare or Dickens, your brain starts to get accustomed eventually. Yes. And yeah, then it starts to. It just starts to flow better. Also, I don't. The bit where he just walks into a puddle and just bloop. Just, oh yeah, I'm just going to step into this puddle just to watch myself bloop, straight down up over the head. And it's like the most dull, dry, intentionally like playing off this pratfall as, yeah, well, look, don't laugh, you do it too. Don't make fun of me. I climbed my way out. And even has a line about, like, as you may understand, I wasn't that interested in learning how deep it was. I just needed to get out of there so that I didn't drown. Yeah. It's almost funnier to me because of how straight it's written. And I don't know if that was his intent, like Hodgson's intent in writing it that way, but yeah, I found it kind of funny. Anyway, I'm going to read some more. So, let's go from here. I may be repeating a little bit, but we are still in Chapter 7. We will get through Chapter 7 eventually. This is our own personal Nightland, and Mirdath the Beautiful is on the other side of it, I'm sure. If we're ready, we're back from our break, and I shall continue to the end of Chapter 7. From here, where I am, I have no more information to give you. And after that I had eat and drunk, I put my gear upon me, and took the discos in my hand, and went forward again upon my journey. And here I should tell you, I was come soon unto the northwest border of the plain of blue fire. And presently I was but a little way off from it, and did go direct to the north, so that the plain was always upon my right. Now this plain was a strange and fearsome place, I realise I've already read, as you shall see, for it was as that a blue void did rise upward from the earth in all the country of that plain. For surely the plain did not lumber with... Hang on. No, I read this ages ago. What the... Chat, where was I? Oh yeah, no, I was there. I have a pencil, I didn't even mark it. Right, anyway, don't mind, just having a minor breakdown on stream. Don't worry about it. I think I've now found where I was. So, if we're ready, and now actually I want to check, rather than rush. Hang on. The other problem is I was reading this just earlier today, so now I'm looking at it like, am I remembering this because I've already just read this today, or because I've read this just minutes ago? It's not technical issue, it's... No. If you're all listening, you tell me where I got to. Don't bully the streamer. I think I got to here. I think I've got it. But I'm going to go back to the previous paragraph. You have no idea? The part with the thing? Great, thanks. Look, see, is nobody paying attention? This is embarrassing for all of us. Right. I've picked a place. I'm going to go from there. We'll just have to figure it out. He was sleeping and it was cold. Well, that could be anything. There are a lot of words. Okay, I found somewhere. We're going to go from there. If we're ready, I'm really going to make an effort this time. And you shall know that I could not see into the plain, for it was as that the cold blue light was a void that swallowed all within it, and gave no power to the eye that aught should be perceived. And it stood between me and the mighty pyramid, and I could nowise see across. And I know not whether I do make all this matter clear unto you, for surely it is no easy task. And presently I had gone very quiet upon my hands and knees through the moss bushes, and I came near upon the edge of the plain, and hid there in a clump of the moss bush, and peered forth and harked. And I heard constant voices that did call to one another across the plain, as it were that the strange peoples of spirits did wander within the blue shining, and did make a calling one to the other, and were all hid and held apart. And surely I could see naught, and did judge, as I have writ, that they likewise went blindly. And truly is this a strange matter to set out, and easy to think on with doubt. Yet, as I did see, so I have told, for in verity there were surely hidden peoples of spirit scattered and lost afar upon that improper plain. And you shall judge that I kept safe hid, for whether this might have any natural explaining, or whether it was a matter that did go utter beyond knowledge of man, I did not know. For surely in that strange land it did like to be a horrid danger in any case, and whether of some monstrous creatures, or of the evil forces of the land, I did wisely to be away. And for 2 days I did make a safe coasting of the plain of blue fire, and did keep well off, maybe 2 great miles among the moss bushes, and I made a very good speed through the darkness, and in the 18th hour of each journey I made a place for my slumber, and the first I did manage under a thick bush, but the second was high upon the ledge of a rock that grew upward in the night amid the bushes, and save that I was bitter cold, there did no harm come to me, and in all that time of journeying I had no sight of the mighty pyramid, for the blind shining of the plain of blue fire was ever between. Now there had been certain little matters in my journey beside the plain of blue fire which I have not set down, for they were of no account, and do but repeat much that I have told before. And indeed there was naught in that part of my journey, save that I did pass 19 great fire holes and 4 small, and did observe no life beside any, save about one of the great holes, that there was no hollow around, and here I did happen to see some strange and ugly creatures, so big as my head, that did have a look of the scorpion of this age, but proportioned more squat and thick. Yet, though they were but naught to remark upon in that land, they had been but woeful bedmates to any man, as you may think. And you shall know how it gave a rest to my spirit, that I did go so long with no trouble of the monsters of the night, or the evil forces thereof, and I grew bolder to my journeying, and made ever a greater speed of going, and it was like that I took presently a less heed for my safety, which was a wrong and foolish state, yet there came no harm unto me in all that part of my travel. Then it was in the 16th hour of the 3rd day of my journey beside the plain that I did come out beyond the end of it, and had fresh sight of the mighty pyramid, afar in the night upon my right. And I stopped there in a bare place among the moss bushes, and did in a weak moment hold up the discos, so that I make a salute unto the pyramid, mine home. For truly was I so utter glad to behold it once more. And in a little while was I aware that there was a disturbance of the aether of the world all about me, so that it did seem that there had been one at the great spyglass to watch for my coming into their sight from behind the shining of the plain of blue fire. And it was like that news had gone downward through the cities of the great redoubt, so that they did print the word of it in the hour slips, and by this there would be many great millions thinking upon me, and a rushing unto the embrasures, that they might spy out at me. Yet I doubt that any glass might perceive me surely at so great a space, save the power of the great spyglass in the tower of observation, but the emotion of the millions to reach to me. And you shall know that it did seem homely and sweet unto me to hear all about me the shaking of the aether of the world, and to beware that so many did think humanly upon me, and had prayers unto my safety. And it was a strange thing to stand so utter far off in the night, and to look back to that everlasting hill of light that was grown something small in the distance, and to have surety that I was looked upon through the great spyglass, maybe by the kindly eye of my dear friend the Master Montjuacan, and so keenly that he could, it might be, make almost to guess the look within mine eyes, as I did gaze backward unto that mine home. Yet, though this dear and homely sympathy was a sweet and compassionable thing to my heart, it came swift to my thought that I was in a sore danger, if that they ceased not quickly to think so wanly upon me. For surely was I not come over near unto that dreadful house of silence, and well might so much emotion of the millions tell unto the horrid power that dwelt within, how that I was even anigh. And so shall you see the mixed feelings that came upon me every way. Yet, as it did chance, the aether was quieted in a little, for it did need unity of the millions, being that they were untrained to their spiritual powers, to stir the aether. And so was I more easy of mind, and went forward again upon my way. Now, as it did chance, at the 18th hour I was come to a place where I heard a noise of water, and I went to my left that I might come upon it. And there boiled a hot fountain that went up out of the rock of that place, and the water rose upward in a column, and was, maybe, so thick as my body. And it fell unto the north, for the water came not up straightly, but did shoot out from the earth unto that way. And I saw the thing plain, for there were many fire-holes all about, as you shall have wotted from my telling. And so was there a certain and constant light in that part of the land. And I followed the water that ran from the fountain, and tried it with mine hand, but found it to burn, and so did go further beside it, for presently it should be no hotter than I did need. And it went onward, winding among the moss bushes, and sent up a constant steam that hung about it, and the steam made a red cloud about the way that it did go, for the lights from the fire-holes made a shining upon it, and so was it a wondrous pretty sight. Now, Presently I tried the stream again, and found it to be nicely warm, and I sat upon a little rock, and took off my foot-gear, that I might bathe my feet, which were gone something tender. Moreover, I did ache to have the sweetness of water about me, and I made that I should bathe my feet, and afterwards find a place among the moss bushes, and so eat and drink and have my slumber. Then, as I did sit there beside that warm stream, with my feet dabbled therein, I heard sudden, afar off, the voice of a mighty night-hound baying in the night. And the sound came from the northwest of the plain of blue fire, and there was afterward a quiet, and you shall see me sitting there upon the rock by the side of that smoking river, and the steam all about me, and my feet within the lovely warmth of the water, and I very still and frozen with a sudden fear, for it did seem to me in an instant that the night-hound might surely be upon the track of my goings. And after that there had passed a little time, the while that I did listen very keen, lo, there burst out in the night, as it did seem scarce a mile off, the monstrous, deep baying of the giant hound. And I knew surely that the brute did track me, and a sick and utter horror did fall upon me, so that I could scarce get my foot-gear upon me once more. Yet, in truth, I was not long to the matter, and was to my feet, and did hold the discus ready. And very desperate I was to the heart, for it is ever a fearsome thing to be put in chase, and the worse 100 times when there is a sure knowledge that a deathly monster doth be the pursuer. Now, I did stand there but a moment, it did seem, to make an anxious considering how that I might best assure me some chance to live through this swift-coming danger. And then did I think upon the stream, to use it, and I leapt quick therein, and did run very strong down the middle part, which was nowheres so much as thigh deep, and oft not above mine ankles. And as I did run, there came again the bellow of that dire brute following, and was now, as mine ears did say, scarce the half of a mile to my rear. And I did run but the stronger, for the dread of the sound, and so maybe for a little minute, and after that time I stopped from my heavy running, and went very wary, and I made no loud splashing, for by now the monster brute should be something anigh to that place where I did enter the stream. And I looked round, with a constant looking, but did see no surely visible thing, though my fear did shape me a hound from every shadow of the moss bushes about me. Then, in a moment, I did hear the great beast, for it bayed but a little way up the stream, as that it had overshot the place where the scent did end, and immediately I sank swiftly into the water, which was there so deep as my knee, and I turned upon my belly, and the water surged over my shoulders, for I kept my head above. And so I did look eager and fearful through the stream into the shadows and the half-darkness, towards where I did think to see the night-hound. And in a moment I saw it coming, and it was a little vague, by reason of the smoke of the river, yet did seem black and monstrous in the gloom, and great as a mighty horse, and it went past me at a vast and lumbersome gallop, but I did not see it in that moment, for I dived my head down unto the rock of the river bosom, and held downward, until that I was like to burst for sore longing of breath. Then I put upward my head, and took swift and deep breathings, and looked about me, very cautious and fearful, as you can know. And I heard the night-hound casting round among the moss bushes, and it did send up a wild and awesome baying, and I heard the bushes break and smash beneath it, as it did run to and hither. And afterward there was a quiet, yet I moved not, but stayed there very low in the water, and did have a thankful heart that it was warm and easy to persist in, for I had surely died of a frozen heart, if that it had been cold. For by this time you do know even with me how bitter was the chill of the land. Now I had been a while lain thus upon my belly, and heard no sound from the monstrous hound. Yet I ceased not to be full of a horrid unease concerning the great beast, for I did better to know what it did than to have no knowing. And, sudden, I heard the sound of it, running very swiftly and coming nigh, and it passed me, and did go up the stream, and there was surely a quick stupor upon me, for I ducked not my head under the water, but stayed very still, which, as it did chance, was maybe not such an utter foolishness. For my head did seem in that half-gloom to be, mayhap, no more than a little rock in the water, and I made no move to tell of life. Yet should the hound have smelled me, and that it failed in this matter, doth be a puzzle to me. And as the great night-hound passed me, it tore the earth and the bushes with the exceeding strength that it put forth to run, and clods of the earth and stones of bigness were cast this way and that by the feet of the hound, running. And so shall you have a little knowledge of the strength of that beast. And the hound ran on into the distance, and presently I heard it baying in the night. Then I rose and went onward down the warm stream, and made a strong walking, yet keeping alway to the water, and oft did stop a little that I should listen, and always I heard the night-hound a great way off in the night, baying, and seeming that it did surely run to and fro, searching. Now I journeyed thus for 12 hours, and the baying of the hound making search did never cease, and I kept always to the water, as I did say, that I should leave no scent unto the hound. And by that 12 weary hours had gone, I found that I was come anigh unto the house of silence. And this put me in great trouble, as you may perceive, for surely had mine whole effort been to the end that I should avoid that house by a great way. Yet had the hound driven me thus anear. Now I saw that the river did go onward, and did make a breach across the road where the silent ones walk. And I determined in my heart that I should leave the water, which was now grown nigh to a bitter cold, in that it was so long upon the face of the land. Yet chiefly did I mind to leave the water, that I should come no more anigh unto that house of silence, for the water did go that way. And I stood a while, and did listen for the baying of the hound, but could hear it no more, and did have a surety within me that it was indeed gone from searching for me. Then I came out of the water, and went forward, stooping and creeping among the moss bushes, going outward to the westward of north, so that I should go away so quickly as I might from the nearness of the house. Yet lo, I was gone upon my hands and knees no more than 100 fathoms, when I did find the moss bushes to cease to the westward for a great way, and there to be a great bareness of rock, which, in truth, was much shown thereabout. And I dared not to go outward upon that naked land, for then I had not been hid by the moss bushes, but had stood plain there for all things of the night to behold. And moreover, though I could nowise have a sure knowledge concerning this matter, yet did I hope within me that I should make a sure hiding from the power of the house of silence. But I did go very low among the bushes. But, indeed, did I but go very low among the bushes. But, indeed, it was like enough that naught could give me hiding, yet should I lose no chance unto my safety. And because of this, I went backward among the bushes, and ceased to escape out unto the westward. and I found presently that the moss bushes made but a narrow growth in that path, and grew only for a while by the side of the great road, so that I was surely fain to keep nigh to the road, that I have the covering of the bushes. And in a while I found the road where the silent ones walk, to bend inward at the north of the house of silence, so that it came right horridly close unto the house. For here the hill on which the house did stand was very abrupt and fell steeply unto the road, and so was that dreadful house stood up there above me in the silence, as that it did seem to brood there upon the land. And this side did seem truly as the other, and equal lone and dreadful. And the house was monstrous and huge, and full of quiet lights, and it was truly as that there had been no sound ever in that house through eternity. But yet was it as that the heart did think each moment to see quiet and shrouded figures within, and yet never were they seen. And this I do but set down, that I bring all home unto your hearts also, as that you crouched there with me in those low moss bushes, there beside the great road, and did look upward unto that monstrous house of everlasting silence, and did feel the utterness of silence to hang about it in the night, and to know in your spirits the quiet threat that lived silent there within. And so shall you have mind of me, hid there among the bushes, and sodden and cold, and yet, as you will perceive, so held in my spirit by an utter terror and loathing and solemn wonder and awe of that mighty house of quietness loomed above me in the night, that I wotted not of the misery of my body, because that my spirit was put so greatly in dread and terror for the life of my being. And also you shall have before you how that I knew in all my body and soul that I stood anigh to that place where but a little while gone there had passed inward so dreadful to an everlasting silence and horrid mystery those poor youths. And after that you have minded you of this, you shall consider how that the memory of all my life held dread thoughts of the monstrousness of that house. And now was I anigh unto it, and it did seem to my soul that the very night about it held an anguish of quiet terror, and always my mind did come back to the sheer matter that I was so anigh. And this thing I do say unto you once and again, for truly, as you do see, it hath imprinted itself deep into my spirit. Yet shall I now cease from saying further in this matter, for surely you shall never know all that was in my heart, and if I cease not, I do but be like to weary you. And so did I hide and creep, and oft pause to a time of shaking quiet, and afterward gather something of new courage, and go onward, and peer upward at that monstrous house stood above me in the night. Yet, as it did come about, I came presently clear of that horrid place, for the road came round again unto the north, and I began that I made a better way through the moss bushes, but never that I grew to much speed, for I had oft to go about, that I should miss a naked part here, and another there, for truly there was an abundance and bareness of rock, so that the bushes grew not so thick as I could wish. And in the space of 5 hours was I clear of that house, and did have a greater ease about my heart, but yet was not free to come to food nor to slumber, the both of which I did sorely need, for I had slept neither eat for a weariful time, as you do know. But first I must go further off from the house, and afterwards come to some fire-hole, that I should dry myself and get warmth again into my body, which was bitter cold. And now that I had come unto the northward of the house of silence, there came to me a great wonder, which bred in me a mighty hope and gladness. For as I did go among the bushes, there broke sudden all around me in the aether the low and solemn beat of the master word, and the throb of the word was utter weak, so that one moment I did say unto myself that I heard, and in a moment that I did not. Yet had I no proper doubt in my heart. And I reasoned with myself, and with a great shaking of excitement and expectation upon me, that the master word came not from the great pyramid, which should have power to send it as a great force across the everlasting night, whilst that this that throbbed about me was faint and scarce to be known even unto the keenness of the night hearing which was mine. And immediately, as I crouched low there, and thrilled with the hope that was bred in me, lo, there seemed to come the far faint voice of Nani, calling with a little voice within my spirit, and I thought the cry to have an utterness of supplication within it, so that I grew desperate to up and go to running, yet did curb such foolishness, and stayed very hushed to listen. But I heard no more, yet was shaken continually with the joy and hope which this calling did breed in me. For truly did it seem now that I was right, that I did determine to go unto the north, for sure was I now that the lesser redoubt lay that way in the night. And it did seem plain unto me that the house of silence had put a barrier between, and had power to withhold so weak a calling. And now had I come beyond the barrier, and I did perceive in my heart how that Nanny had called off, maybe in the sadness of despair, yet had the weak crying of her brain elements been held from me by the horrid power of the house. And surely, as I did think, it was well named, for it did make a silence. And so shall you stay with me in your hearts, and take to ourselves something of the new gladness that held all my being, for it did seem truly that my bitter task and adventuring should not in the end be offered to uselessness, and that it did truly draw unto that far place in the everlasting night, where mine own maid did cry for me, that I should succour her. And ever as I went did I hark, but there was no more the low beating of the master word in the night, not at that time. And presently I spied outward to the west, as it did seem a good mile off in the night, the shining of a fire-hole. And I began to plan that I should come unto that place, and have warmth and dryness, and food and slumber. And, in verity, so set was I to the need of these matters, that if there did be a monstrous thing nigh to the fire, as was so oft the case, then I would give battle unto it. For neither my joy nor my labours did serve to put warmth into my body, and I must surely come anigh to fire or die. Then, as I kneeled upward among the moss bushes, and made to lay a true course unto the fire-hole, I perceived that there came a being along the road unto my right. And I went low into the bushes, and moved not, for truly I had seen that there drew nigh one of the silent ones. And I made a little place that should let me to see, and I spied out with an utter caution. And lo, the being came on very quiet and with no hurry, and in a time it went by me on the road, and did take no heed to me. Yet did I feel that it had knowledge that I stooped there among the moss bushes, and it made no sound as it went, and was a dreadful thing. Yet it did seem unto my heart as that it had no trouble of wanton malice to work needless destruction to any. And this I crave strangely that you to understand, for it was so to me that I had a quiet and great respect for that thing, and did feel no hatred, yet was very dreadly in fear of it. And it was huge in size, and was shrouded unto its feet, and seemed maybe 10 feet high. Yet presently it was gone onward down the road, and I was no more troubled by it. Then did I make no waste of time, but set off unto the fire-hole, and kept so much to shelter as I might, but was oft made to run over baked places, ere that I should come to more of the bushes. And I came presently nigh unto the fire-hole, and made a pause, and crept unto it with a great care, and I found it to be in the bottom of a deep hollow of the rock of that part, and the rock was clear looking of all living matters, the which did make me to be glad. And I went round about the top of the hollow, carrying the discus very handily, but there was nowhere any living thing, and I feared not to go downward into the deep hollow, and so unto the fire-hole which lay in the bottom, as you have perceived. And when I was come there, I made a close search of the rock, and found it was very sweet and warm, and there were no serpents, neither any stinging creatures, so that a certain comfort came upon my spirit. Then I stripped off mine armour and gear, and afterward all my garments, so that I stood there naked in the hollow. Yet was that place almost so warm as some mild oven, and I had no fear to suffer from the cold of the night-land, but was uneasy lest that any monstrous thing should be anigh to come to take me so unawares. Now I wrung the garments, and spread them upon the rock near unto the fire-hole where it was hot, and I did rub my body very brisk with my hands, so that I glowed into health and had no fear of a stiffness. And afterward I did look to my food and drink, and to the matters in the pouch, but there had no harm come to any, by reason of the tightness of the scrip and the pouch, and had kept off the water. And I eat and drank, there as I stood waiting for the garments to come to dryness, and I walked about a little as I eat, for I was restless to be into mine armour swiftly. And now I did turn this garment upward to the dry side, and now that, but did find them to steam, so that I turned them many times before they were proper. Yet in truth they dried in but a little while, and I gat me into them very swift, and into the armour, and I felt the strength and courage of my spirit to come back to me, which had gone outward somewhat when I did stand there so naked. And this feeling you shall all have understanding of, and know that you would have felt that way likewise, had you but stood there in that land in so unhappy a plight. And when I had come into mine armour, I put my gear upon me, and took the discus into my hand, and did climb out of the hollow, where I would find a more secure place to my slumber, and did not dare to sleep in that place. For it was beyond 37 hours since that I did have sleep, though, as I do see by my count, I have made it to seem but as 35, yet was a part consumed in divers matters that I have not set down. And you shall mind how bitter had been my labour and weariness in all that time, and I did know of a surety that sleep must come heavily upon me, so that I was surely in need that I should search out a safe place. For I should not be lightly waked until that I had slept away the tiredness of my heart, and the weariful achings from my body. And, indeed, I should mind you how that I was not yet come perfect from the bruising which I had gotten from the fight with the yellow thing. And presently, when I had searched but a little while, I did find that a rock stood upward from a great clumping of the moss bushes unto my left. And I went over to the rock and made a search about it, and I found that there was a hole in the bottom part of the rock, and I thrust the discus into the hole, and made the blade to spin a little, so that it sent out a light. But there was no thing in the hole, and it did seem a dry and safe place for my sleep. Then I turned me about, and went into the hole with my feet that way, and I found that it was so deep into the rock as the length of 2 men, and just so wide as I could lie in it without having it to pinch me. And there I made my bed in the hall, and went swift unto my sleep, and scarce had but a moment even to think upon Nani. And by this thing you shall know how utter was my weariness. Now I waked of a sudden, and was very clear and refreshed, and I crept to the mouth of the hole, and looked out. But there was all a quietness round about, and nothing to threaten. And I found that I had slept 10 hours, so that I made a haste to eat and drink, that I should go forward swiftly upon my journey. And at that time, as in the time when I did eat, naked in the hollow, by the fire-hole, I eat 4 of the tablets. And this you shall understand to be rightly due unto me, in that I had gone so long fasting in that my great journeying, to come safe from the hound, and to come past the house of silence. And this shall seem but a little thing to you. Yet was it a wondrous important matter unto me, that had gone so long with an empty belly, and was never satisfied. And neither should any be, that had eat so little as I did eat, and made to fill their belly always with a drink of water. Yet I doubt not but that it did keep my soul sweet and wholesome, and no useful thing to the powers of evil of the land. And when I had made an end of so great a gorging, and had ceased to be drunken with water, I gat my gear upon me, and took the discourse into my hand, and so went forth once more towards the north. And presently I was nigh unto the road again, for it did curve something westward a space beyond, and I was sore tempted to go upon the road, for the ground was rough, and the moss bushes did catch my feet. Yet did I stay among the bushes, though the road was true and smooth by compare, and by this telling you will perceive that I walked once more upright, and had given over to crawl between the bushes. And in truth this was so, for the land did seem very quiet in all that part, and I had less of fear now that I stood beyond the horrid unease of the house of silence. Now, after that I had journeyed 12 hours, I saw that I was come upon the commencement of a great and mighty slope, as that the world did slope downward always towards the north. And I went on again, after that I had eat and drunk, as I did likewise before this at the 6th hour of that day's journey. And presently I perceived the road to cease, and surely this did confound me, as that a man of this age had come to a part where the world did end. For you shall know that the road was that which had seemed to go on for ever, and you shall mind the way of my life up till that time, and so shall you the better conceive of my bewilderment, and, as it were, a feeling of great strangeness unto one that was overpressed, as you would believe, with strange matters. Yet, truly, was this all as the little book of metal had told unto me, and so should I have been something prepared. Yet are we ever thus needing eye-proof, and perhaps it is more proper that it be so. Yet you shall perceive me adrift somewhat as to direction, for I had steered before this time so that I should come to the north of the house of silence, and afterward had shaped my way by the road. But now was I adrift, as it might be set down, in the wilderness. And so did I stand and consider, and presently did look unto the far pyramid, which was now a great way off in the night, and had seemed but small by that which I knew it to be. And lo, as I did look, I perceived that I could but see the high upper point of the light of the great pyramid, where did shine the last light. And I was confounded afresh. Yet in a moment I saw that the greatness of the slope did account for this. But here I should tell to you that the slope was no wise steep, but did seem as that it should never cease, and mayhaps this is clear unto you. And I perceived surely that the time was come when I should make an utter parting from the great redoubt, and the thought came very heavy upon me. And in the same time I knew that the aether was stirred by the emotions of the millions, so that I had knowledge they watched me with the great spyglass, and did send word down unto the hour slips. But by this did the millions know, and have a great thinking upon me in that moment. And you shall perceive how utter lost and lonesome I did feel. And it was at that time that I did test the compass to comfort me, as I did tell before this, and feared I must sure forget when I did come to the proper place. Yet have I minded me as I did desire. And I saw now that the night land that I did wot of was hid from me by the slope, and I turned and looked down the slope, and surely all before me was utter wildness of a dark desolation, for it did seem to go no whither but into an everlasting night, and there was no fire down there, neither light of any kind, but only darkness, and, as I did feel, eternity. And downward into that blackness did the great slope seem to go forever. Now, as I did stand there, looking downward into the dark, and often backward unto the shining of the final light, and to put a horrid desolateness, behold, there came the low beating of the master word in the night, and it did appear as that it had been sent to give me courage and strength in that moment, and did seem unto my fancy that surely it did come upward unto me from out of the mighty blackness into which the great slope ran. Yet could this have been but a belief, for the aether doth have no regard unto direction, to show you whence the spiritual sound doth come, and this did my knowledge and reason know full well. And I made that I would send back the master word, sending it with my brain elements, and so give news unto Nanny, how that I did struggle to come unto her. Yet did I have caution in time, for, in verity, had I sent the master word, then had the evil forces of the land wotted that I was out, and mayhaps had come swift unto my destruction, and so did I contain my spirit and desire, and made to do wisely. Yet was I put in courage by the low beat of the master word, and did listen very keen that some message should follow. But there came none, neither did the weak throb of the word come about me again at that time. And because that I was now grown more to my natural state, and did feel that I should indeed find the maid, I looked once more unto the great pyramid, long and eager and with a solemn heart, yet with no sign or salutation, as I was before determined. And afterward I turned and went downward into the dark. And that brings us to the end of the chapter, and actually quite neatly to the end of the stream. I apologise for what appears to be even yet still more dropped frames through that. I hope it wasn't too much disruption for everybody. I hope the VOD has survived intact. Yeah, hi, hello, welcome. Wayward Bard, hi, I see you lurking. Nice. I hope you've been enjoying it. I had a pencil in my hand for that half. So I could like mark off bits as I went past them. Like, speaking of like awkward sentences, there was one a couple of pages back, actually no, like 10 pages back or so. Literally, this is the complete sentence, start to finish. This is the sentence. But the emotion of the millions to reach to me. I get the gist. But oh no, Pirelli, you stabbed your thumb a few minutes ago. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was one that I just like. Yeah, okay. There was something else as well. I was like, oh, was it in this half? There was, I liked, actually, yeah, I did leave a little mark by just one of the bits that just, we're talking about, while he was being, like, pursued by the Night Hound, which I do like that he sort of described them as big as horses, and I just, again, like, what I actually think them as is in Elden Ring, in, Caelid, which is, like, just the red kind of blasted fungal wasteland that's full of scarlet rot, which is just giga poison and kills you dead. In that area, there are basically kind of big Tyrannosaurus Rex dogs. They're kind of dogs, but they've got little forearms. They're really big, and they walk around on their hind legs. And that is sort of what I think of the Night Hounds as. But when he describes them as being big as horses, I do just think of them as, like, feral horses. Big as big horses or small horses. Or that also, actually, you know what? I like the idea of feral Shetland ponies just treving about, biting people. That would be, you know, that's a good mental image. I like... But, I don't know, just like... horses that are out to kill. Carnivorous horses is just, it's kind of a funny mental image to me. But in the midst of him describing being pursued by one of these feral ponies, and I looked around with a constant looking, but did see no surely visible thing, though my fear did shape me a hound from every shadow of the moss bushes about me. I like that description. I like the way he's put that, like, though my fear did shape me a hound from every shadow of the moss bushes about me. I don't know why, just for some reason, amongst, like, the rest of the writing, that stood out a little prouder. And I thought, yeah, you know what, for what is, I think, it's a very, like, dry, straightforward text. Like, it's really just a guy saying things. Is this the book that makes me believe in horses? No, I've said before. Like, you can tell me what a dragon is. You can describe a dragon to me, and like, yeah, that sounds like a dragon. I know what a dragon is. Doesn't mean dragons are real. It's a cool sentence. Yeah, like, I appreciate that. Even in a text like this, he's finding, not often, but, like, that's not the only example. There's, like, other lines in this, although, you know, there are and there will be more. Yeah, he's still finding ways to put a little bit of poetry on things, which is nice. Oh, that's me clattering the mic arm with my phone. Right. That's the end of that for this week. So I'm going to go. I hope that's okay with everyone, but to be honest, you don't get much choice in the matter. Apologies for noise while I reposition microphone and things. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Thank you for being here and for listening. Do I raid? We haven't raided enough. Good. Let's send. You wanna go see Billiam? We go say hi to Billiam. We've not seen him in a while. Let's go see how Billiam's doing. That means I need to remind myself that it's /raid. Yeah. Great. That. Oh, Twitch is broken. It's not showing me the countdown properly for the raid now. That's great. Hang on. If I refresh the page, does it fix it? Right. I'm gonna go. Thank you. Okay, good. It works now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you've had a fun stream and have a good rest of however much weekend is allotted to you. Lucy will probably be back on Wednesday, but I don't know. She is not here to tell me whether I am right or wrong in this assumption, and ideally I should be back next Saturday is the hope, but who knows how things will proceed. And I'm going to try and see if I can figure out what to click on to make these frame drops go away. But for now I'm going to go. So thank you for being here. You've been a wonderful, lovely audience. Take care of yourselves and the people around you. And I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.